Okay, good evening everyone. Today's session, we are going to discuss the Esx host configuration and management. Before we going to start the Esx host configuration, we should have an idea on some of the basic concepts in Esx host, which is Esx host installation steps. Yesterday's session, we discussed the pre-installation steps, installation process. Today's session, I will show you the post-installation steps. And before we start the lab, I will just show you the Esx host components, Esx host log file. What is the main components? Yesterday we discussed the Esx host architecture diagram. Within the architecture diagram, we noticed a few of the components. Those components we'll discuss today. And also, before going to manage the Esx host, we also have an idea on Esx host log files. What are all the logs available in the Esx host? And the Esx host management interfaces. Management interface is nothing but how many ways we can manage the Esx. In general, we can manage the Esx host in two ways. We can manage in a graphical user interface or command line interface. I will show you both ways how we can manage the Esx box. And also the configuration management. Both the configuration management, instead of explaining, I will directly connect to my test system and I will show you. Okay, and also the lab, and finally I will show you the Vsphere documentation where we can find all the Esx official documents. I will show you the reference link from the VMware website. And before going to start, let me turn on my test system. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So Esx host build procedure. Yesterday we discussed about the Esx pre-installation steps. Do you have any questions on this in pre-installation? No questions, right? So I will ask a question here. Why we are enabling Intel VT at BIOS level? What is the importance of enabling Intel VT and AMD V? Intel VT means Intel Virtual Technology. AMD V means AMD is the actual company name. AMD motherboard have a, in BIOS level we have a virtual name. If you enable Intel VT and AMD V on at BIOS level, it allows you to install a virtualization software which is ESXi box. Okay, this feature must be enabled at the BIOS level. And installation procedure, we tested in our VMware workstation. We installed successfully for 2 Esx hours. Today's session, I will explain you the post-installation lab. While showing the lab, again, I will show you one by one. And let's move on to the ESXi components. So the ESXi architecture consists of the underlying the OS called VM kernel. So interviews, they will ask what is the ESXi architecture, or they will ask you to explain about ESX components. You can explain the main key core component in ESXi is VM kernel. VM kernel means VM is nothing but a VMware company name. VMware developed that operating system kernel core component. So they mentioned the product name, that component name itself, VM kernel. It's a VM kernel also same like a normal operating system. It has processes that run on top of the hardware. Okay, so VM kernel provides a means for running all processes. This processes is like a normal Windows operating system. Also, if you go to the task manager, we can see all the processes. Same way, VM kernel also will show all the running processes. It will include the management applications and the specific ESXi host agents as well as virtual machines. And it has a control of all the hardware devices. Hardware devices means motherboard, CPU, memory, disk, and network interface card. All the hardware interfaces it will control and manage the resources for the applications. The main process that runs on top of the VM kernel are DCUI. DCUI means direct console user interface. So direct console user interface means, let me connect to the our lab system. Okay, lab system I'm just connecting. Okay, MSDSC, the system name is 40, IP address is for 192.168.10.40. Okay, I connected to the test system. I will open the VMware workstation. So yesterday I turn off all the virtual machines. We'll power on the Active Directory VM first. Okay, Active Directory VM is turned on, and same way turn on the ESX01 and turn on the ESX2 also. Okay, so our 3 virtual machines are powered on. See, we can see the screen Esx Host home screen with the yellow and gray color. This is the actual Esx Host direct DCUI, direct console user interface. So I mentioned in our slide, one of the main core component is DCUI, direct console user interface. The first screen when we log into the Esx box, that is the screen direct console user interface. Okay, this is the screen DCUI means. Once it is loaded, I will show you to log into the DCUI. See, this is the actual Esx host home screen. This is another name is DCUI, Direct Console User Interface. So in the screen itself, you will find Esx information, Esx 7.0 and VMware company information, and how many processors we assigned for this host is 2 CPU and 4 GB memory. To manage this host, we can use just any browser and type this URL. HTTPS means Hypertext Transfer Protocol. S means secure. It's a HTTP secure protocol, and you can type our Esx host name. Either you can type ESX01 or you can type the Esx host IP address. And remember, always in the production servers, we need to assign only the static IP, not recommended to assign a DHCP IP address. Okay. Once the host is completely loaded, in order to do the connected to the DCUI console, the below you will find the information. Customize system, press F2. And also to view the logs also press F2. And to shut down and restart, we need to press F12. So I'm just pressing the function key 2. When you type function key 2, we need to enter the Esx host login ID and password. Default Esx host login administrator is root, and enter the password. So let me retry the password. Okay, password is entered. When we enter to the password, it will show you the system customization option. This system customization option, whatever the options we have, these all the options we'll observe now. Configure password default is disable no password, while installation of Esx server only we set it the Esx host root password. That's why the configure password in the left pan it is showing a set. It's already set. Suppose in future if you want to change the password, just press enter and change the password. In which scenario we are changing the password is most of the companies they have some company standards, either a quarterly basis, half yearly basis or annual basis. They have to change all the servers password. That is a company security benchmarks. Some company may maintain every 6 months we have to change all our servers passwords. Either it is a root or a service account, all the administrator accounts need to be changed. That is a company standards. So during that scenario, we required this task. We have to log into the Esx host direct console and change the password from DCUI method, or you can change from graphical user method, or you can change it from a command line interface. Okay, that is the importance of this first option. And the second option, the configure lockdown, currently it is grayed out. That's why it's direct. When I press the down arrow, it is going directly to the configure management network. This lockdown option I will show you from the graphical user interface. The only importance of the second option, configure lockdown method, is this lockdown method. When you enable this lockdown method, we can access this host only from the direct IP address. It won't allow you to access this host to the other system. That is only the, it's like a home, like same like our laptop will put the laptop lock or laptop password. Only with our password only we can log in. If you're trying with other password, we cannot log in. And even the home, we can lock the main door. Without the key, we cannot log in. Same way, this configure lockdown is only to access this particular Esx host directly. On, we can also add this host to the vCenter server. Only for that vCenter only, it's completely dedicated. We cannot access this host from any of the other remote vCenters. That is the importance of lockdown feature. And the next option, configure management network. When you select the management network in the left pan, in the right pan, you can see we assign the host name ESX01 IP address. Normally, this is only the one-time setup to enter the host name and IP address. In the future, we cannot change the host name and IP address until unless there is any customer requirement to change the computer name and IP addresses. Okay, if you want to change, the only option is press enter and change the host name and IP addresses. I'll just show you and cancel it. Just press enter. You will find the configure management network. The first option is network adapters VMNIC 0 in the right side. This one also no need to change. When you select drop down arrow, VLAN optional not set. Normally VLAN means it's a virtual LAN. This virtual LAN concept I will explain when we are discussing the ESXi networking concept. Just remember the word VLAN. VLAN full form is virtual LAN. LAN means local area network. IPv4 means Internet Protocol version 4 configuration. You can see the configuration here. Right side, you can see the IP version 4, 192.168.10.71 subnet mask default gateway. Okay. If you want to change this information, press enter. It will ask you to change the details. So here only we can modify. When you modify, just press enter and it will save the new information. But present, we are not going to change any details. I'm just pressing the escape to cancel. Okay, and IPv6 means Internet Protocol version 6 configuration. By default, it is in enable state. Still, most of the companies still using the IPv4. Only the few companies migrated to IPv6. The only difference between IPv4 configuration and IPv6 is, if you see the IPv4 in the right side, you can find one digit is nothing but one octant. One octant means it's a 8, number 8. So 8, 1 octant, second 8, second octant, third octant, fourth octant. That means IPv4 is 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 4 eights. 4 eights means 32. IPv4 is a 32-bit addressing. That is the importance of IPv4 address. When it comes to IPv6, V6 means it's a 128-bit addressing. This address is not like a 4 octants, it's like a 128 bits addressing. So it starts with FE80 and all. This is a bit advanced concept. I will just give you the basic of what is IPv6 during the ESXi networking concept. Okay, and another configuration, DNS. DNS, we already configured the AD server. In our AD server, whatever the domain we have, those DNS information we have to give. See, if you see our DNS server IP address is 192.168.10.70. This 70 IP address is, when you select our AD server IP is 70 IP address. The same IP I entered because this server is running with both Active Directory and DNS. So same DNS IP address I entered at the Esx host level. How to verify the IP address? Open the command prompt, type the IP config. You will find IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, but there is no DNS information. If you want to see the DNS information, the command is again same command, IP config space / and you can type the command all. When you type all only, we can see the DNS information. See, when we type ipconfig all command, it is showing the full information. It is showing the host name and our domain name demolab.com. When you just scroll down, we can find the IP address details, subnet mask, default gateway, and also you can see the DNS information. And DNS information, it is showing as 127.0.01. This is nothing but it's a local system IP. Local system IP is 70. Okay, the same 70 IP address we entered at the ESXi box. Okay, that is called DNS configuration. And DNS suffixes means we need to enter our domain controller name. Our domain controller active directory name is demolab.com. Normally in the real-time environments, we need to enter our company names. Suppose if your company is HPE, we need to enter hpe.com. If your company is Capgemini, you can enter your domain name, it's a capgemini.com. So depends on the customer requirement, we need to choose the domain names. So for our test lab, I just given the name as demolab.com. Okay. So again, if you want to go back to previous screen, we need to press escape. Just go to press escape. It will move to the previous screen. Okay. So until now, we discussed how to configure the management network. So this is the one, management network. And the second option, let's scroll down. You will find the another option, which is restart management network. Restart management network. If you see this option, it's a restart management network. Normally, this option we use when we do any modifications on the management network. In that scenario, we have to do the restart management network. In order to do restart management network, it is clearly showing the option is enter. When we press enter, it will restart the management network. Okay, if you want to try, just press enter. It will say restart management network. In order to confirm, we need to press F11. F11 means function 11. Okay, now it is says okay. Just click enter. This is the way we can restart management network. And suppose to test the management network also same, just select the test management network. In order to run the test, in the right side description, it clearly says enter to run the test. If you want to log out, press escape. Okay, so just now we restarted, it's fine. Now let's go to the network restore options. This restore option, suppose sometimes if your ESXi host got hang or it's got restarted unexpectedly, there is some misconfiguration. During that scenario, when you select restore option, enter restart, it will restore your previous IP settings information. So currently in our scenario, our host is running normally, so we no need to use this option. And the configure keyboard, currently we are using the US default language, United States default English. Suppose if your server is in a Europe country or any of the other countries, based on the countries, we need to change the keyboard language. In order to change the keyboard language, we can use configure keyboard plus enter and you can modify. And the next option is troubleshooting options. See the troubleshooting option also, it clearly says to view various troubleshooting mode options like enable ESXi shell. Today, someone asked about what is shell. So we can see this is option ESXi shell and enable SSH. SSH means also secure shell. This is a direct ESX shell. In order to access the ESX shell securely, that is nothing but a SSH, secure shell, and restart agents. So that means it's clear, VMware given clear instruction. We use the troubleshooting option only to validate these features. Either you can connect to ESX shell or enable SSH and restart the agent. So for these scenarios only, we need to use this option. Just enter and we'll see what is the troubleshooting options available. When I click troubleshooting option, see it's open this widget. Enable ESXi shell. Enable ESXi shell. If you see in the right side widget, this right side widget result says currently in the disabled state. If I want to enable the ESXi shell, we need to enter. So plus enter to enable the ESXi shell. See the right side only the current state. Remember that this gray color, whatever the state is showing, that is the current state. So now ESXi shell is enabled state. I will show you how to log in when ESX shell is enabled state. How we can log in is directly from this screen, you can press Alt F1. When you press Alt F1, it will go to the ESXi shell. Let's try to press the Alt F1. If it is not going to Alt F1, you can press Alt F2. Just press Alt function 2. Present it is not going. Once it is saved, we can try. So just escape. Now I am trying to press Alt F2. or Alt F1. Yeah, when we press Alt F1, it is going. So remember that whenever we change the Esx shell, just press Escape. It will save the settings, and then you can try Alt F1. This is the prompt for Esx shell prompt, direct Esx shell prompt. So to log in, what is the login ID? Login ID is root. So type root. Yeah, correct. Type root and enter the password. So when I enter the password, this is the Esx shell prompt. Okay. So in the command prompt, if you want to see the commands, press double tab. You will find all the Esx host commands. Okay. This is the list of commands for Esx host. Just press double tab. You will find the list of commands. Okay. Just clear. Clear means clear the screen. To see the Esx version, VMware space -v, you will find the Esx version. Our Esx version is 7.0. Again, if you want to go back to previous screen, press Alt F2. When I press Alt F2, it will go back to the previous screen and enter the login ID and password. It's login to the previous screen. Again, go to the troubleshooting option. We'll observe the other option. See, Esx shell we tested just now, and now the second option is enable SSH. What is the option? It is saying that in the right side pane, SSH default state is disabled state. To enable this secure shell, just press enter to enable. So press enter. Now the state is enabled state. So to access the secure shell SSH session, to remotely to access this Esx box via command line, we need to use the tool name called putty. Some call it as putty, some call it as putty. Anything you can use. Normally some US and UK different pronunciation. We can download the putty. It's a direct free tool from internet. Download putty. See, this is a first one. Just you can download putty here. This tool we can use to access the Esx host. Any version 64-bit, anything is fine. So I just select 64-bit. Okay, so the tool is downloaded. It's in our downloads. Okay, let me copy to the softwares. Okay, now open the putty and we can try to access. What is our Esx host IP address? 192.168.10.71. So, and when we enter the IP address, the port number for default SSH is 22, and the connection type also we selected as SSH secure shell. So just click on open. It will open the connection. If it is showing error message means our setting is not yet saved. 71. Our setting is not yet saved. In order to save, what we have to do, just escape. It will save the settings. Just escape, log out. Now you can see the SSH session. Already we got the connection timeout error because our previous setting is not yet saved. Now we just escaped and saved the settings. We retry the putty. Again, open the putty. I'll prepare a desktop shortcut. Okay, we have the shortcut here. 192.168.10.71. See, now you got the putty security alert, accept, and it will showing the login prompt. Let me increase the font, change settings, and select the appearance or font. These are all the keyboard settings, logging information and all. Okay, I didn't recall where is the font option. Okay, let me try. Let's type login as root, and the password is, enter the password. Okay. See, this is another method to log into the Esx host via SSH secure shell. So remember, secure shell means remotely we can connect using putty tool to connect to the Esx box and type the IP commands vmware fnv will see the Esx version. If you want to see the Esx host how much free space is available, you can type the command df-h disk free information. See, we can see the file system details also. Okay, so this is the way we can connect. Let's go back to the console, our Esx host, enter the password. Okay, where we are exactly at the troubleshooting options. Again, press enter troubleshooting option. The first option Esx shell we tested. In order to log into Esx shell, it should be enable state and press Alt F1 to log into Esx shell. And the second option SSH. To connect the Esx host SSH session, we need to enable this option and you can use the putty tool to connect to the Esx host. Okay, and another one, modify DCUI ideal timeout. If you want to modify the timeout settings, just by default, even if you didn't connect anything on this same screen, it will automatically within 10 seconds, it will session will be logged out. These timings, if you want to increase, you can increase. Okay, but better recommend is leave it default. And if you want to restart the management host, management agents, we need to use this option. Either you can use this option or you can restart from the command line also from the SSH session. SSH session, if you want to restart your hosted management agent service name is hostd. Hostd means host daemon. So the daemon is nothing but a service. So host agent service name. If you want to restart the host agent service, let me show you the command etc slash init.d, that is installation, that is the path. etc means at config init.d, and you can type the service name hostd space status. When we type hostd space status, it will show you the hostd status. Currently hostd status is running. This is the way we can verify the hostd status. Suppose if the hostd is not running, the command is the same command. You can just change the command here to restart. When we type restart, it will restart the host agent service. See, this is the status and the second command is restart. So I just restarted. What it did, it stopped the service and again it started the service. Hostd stopped and hostd started. To verify the service again, same command and replace the restart word with status. So status is running. Okay. So the same method, if you want to do it from the direct user console, this is the option, restart management agent. Either you can run from SSH using command or you can come to the DCY direct console user interface and press enter. It will restart the management agent. And remember, management agent name service name is hostd. Okay. So now again press escape. We'll go back to the other options. So other options are view syslog, system logs. The system logs in the right side pane, you can see the system logs. In the system logs, the one of the log is syslog. Syslog is nothing but a system log. And the second one, VM kernel. Just now we discussed one of the Esx host main component name is VM kernel. Okay, virtual kernel, and the configuration information we'll find, and the management agent. And we discussed management agent, another name is hostd. And we also have another agent called virtual center agent, but at present we haven't installed the virtual center, but remember that virtual center agent name is vpxe. And Esx shell observation log, the name itself observation, so you can pick the first letter. Observation log name is vobd. They took the letter ob and d means is daemon, so vobd is the VMware Esx observation log. Okay, and press the corresponding key to view the log. If you want to see the logs, you can see from here, or you can same logs you can also verify from putty session also. Same thing we can do. Okay, and not only in the command line, we can also see all the logs graphical also. I will show you the graphical method as well. For graphical method, we can connect to the Esx host homepage and we can connect to the Esx host server directly. We can monitor, and there are multiple ways. This is one method, and the second method is using putty, and the third method is graphical method. Okay, if you have multiple options, if you learn the multiple ways to verify the logs, it's easy while doing the troubleshooting. Suppose any session having issue, you can immediately go to the DCUA mode and verify the log. Okay, and the below information is we'll see the other option is view system information. It is showing all what is our complete system information, what is our host serial number, but we are using the serial number is evaluation mode, so that is the reason it's showing as license serial number is evaluation is period is 60 days normally. Once the 60 days is finished, within our 60 days we have to update our license to official license key. Either you can purchase VMware standard license, enterprise, or enterprise plus license keys. Okay, this thumbprint and all the license key relevant information. Okay, and let me show you the another option, reset to system configuration. Again, this option also will use in case of any Esx host issues. If you encounter any hardware issues, when you select reset system configuration, whatever settings you configured previously, all the settings will be restored. Okay, but at present situation we no need to use this option. Just understand there is a facility to do the reset. Same like in our mobile also, if your mobile is hang or something, if your touch screen is anything having some issues, there is a feature to do the reset. It will reset the complete configuration. Same method in the Esx box also. So let's go back to the previous screen. So I just escaped, this is the screen. Okay, so hope the clear what is the DCUI, direct console user interface. This is the one. Okay, and the second point, virtual machine monitor. Virtual machine monitor also one of the default ESXi component. The name itself says virtual machine monitor. This process is always monitor the all the virtual machine status. And the VMware agents, just now we discussed, host D is for ESXi management agent and VPXA for vCenter server agent. And another one, common information model. Common information model mainly will use for a ESX host hardware status monitoring. Okay, we'll explain, elaborate this same processes information in the next slide. So the continuation to ESXi components, DCUI. DCUI means low level configuration and management interface accessible through the console of the server, used primarily for initial basic configuration. See, VMware also mentioned that initial basic configuration only we log into DCUI. Once the ESX host is builded, most of the time we connect using a vCenter server, or we can connect to the ESX host management agent, Esx host client, or we can use a putty to connect to the Esx box. And virtual machine monitor, they given the some description, provides the execution environment for virtual machine as well as helper process known as VMX. And the virtual machine monitor process name is VMX. And each running virtual machine has its own VMM and VMX process. So all the virtual machine process information is maintained by Esx host. And VMware agents used to enable high-level VMware infrastructure management from remote applications. Okay, and the CMM also, as we discussed, it's mainly for hardware level management. And this hardware level management from remote applications through a set of standard APIs. Here API means application program interfaces. And the continuation TSX components, the main key component, VM kernel. Let's elaborate what is the importance of VM kernel. VM kernel, it's like a operating system core component. Whenever we are implementing any operating system, normally that is called as a POSIX. POSIX means portable operating system interface, like operating system developed by the VMware. So VMware developed operating system is VM kernel, which provides a certain functionality similar to that found in a other operating system. The same like other operating systems, this functionality of VM kernel, such as process creation, control, signal, file system, and process threads. Here they mentioned that process creation, control, signals, these and all same thing available in a Windows operating system as well as Linux operating system, and also it has a file system. But file system only difference is in Windows operating system we have the file system called NTFS, New Technology File System. When comes to the Linux operating system, the file system name is ext4. That is the file system name. Same way in our Esx server also, VMware implemented their own file system. That file system called VMFS. VMFS means Virtual Machine File System, and designed specifically this VMFS file system and all mainly for they designed the VM kernel specifically to support running multiple virtual machines. Their main functionality, the brain of the VM kernel, the intelligence of VMware operating system is only this point, running the multiple virtual machines. Suppose if I'm using a Microsoft operating system, Windows operating system, there is no default option to create multiple virtual machine until unless if we enable a Hyper-V feature. Without Hyper-V, we cannot create multiple VMs. Same way in the Linux, Red Hat Linux also, there is no default option to create multiple VMs. We need some virtualization software. So our virtualization software is Esxi. The core component of Esxi is VM kernel. The beauty of VM kernel is it allows you to run the multiple virtual machines. Okay, and provides a such core functionality such as resource scheduling. So resource means we discussed in the yesterday's class. Resource means it's a scheduling for CPU, memory, disk, and NIC, network interface card. And IO stacks means input output stacks and device drivers. It will provide all the device drivers as well. Device drivers is nothing but your virtual machine tools also. It comes with the default ESXi box. Even in the workstation, when we install workstation VMware tools, we are not downloading from anywhere. We are just right clicking a virtual machine, selecting the install VMware tools. Same scenario applicable in the ESXi box also. And the file system, see VM kernel uses a simply in-memory file system to hold the Esx server configuration file, log files, and staged patches. Staged patches means already applied patches. And this file system is independent of the VMware vSphere VMFS file system used to store the virtual machine. The benefit of VMFS is just to store the virtual machine. Suppose in our Windows operating system, if I want to see the file system information, you can just type the run and the command is diskmgmt.msc. Just open the disk management console. Disk management console will see the file system information here. See in our Windows, you can see the file system C drive. This is my size of the C drive and the file system is showing as NTFS. Even this NTFS, what it consists of: boot, page file, crash dump, basic data partition. Same way our VMware VMFS file system. And I also connected one USB drive, but USB drive have a file system is FAT32. This is an old version of NTFS file system. Okay, FAT file system means file allocation table. NTFS means new technology file system. So Windows versions, if you remember, the old version of Windows is Windows NT only. So they are maintaining NT flavor, NTFS, new technology file system. So uh, it's a Windows file system. When it comes to VMware, they put their own file system name, that is the VMFS file system. Okay, let's back to the slide. VMFS file system used to store the virtual machine. And ESXi can configure a remote Syslog server and remote dump server, enabling you to save all log information on your external system. There is a facility to store all the history of logs. ESXi server default allows you to configure Syslog on a remote server. So remote Syslog server main purpose is to store all our ESXi host logs past data, because some companies there is some standard procedures. They need a logs for minimally 1 year logs. If you want to maintain 1 year logs on a same ESXi box, your system disk will be full. So to avoid that situation, what the recommendation is, all your previous data, like more than 1 month old logs, all previous month's logs, you can just move it to the remote syslog server. Remote syslog server is mainly to maintain all the centralized logs from the network systems. Whatever the systems available in your network, all the system servers information logs will be collected in the syslog server. Okay, I will show you how to configure syslog server. Okay, so we are familiar with the Esxi components now. Now we are discussing the Esxi log file. This log file just now we discussed, we verified from the DCUI mode. I'm just giving the brief information what is importance of each log. Esx host by default all the logs are stored on a /var/log partition. Under this partition you will see the AUTH. AUTH is like a authentication shortcut word. AUTH auth dot log. So from this log only you will find the authentication success and failure information. Suppose currently we are using Esx host login ID root. If you give a wrong password, definitely the auth dot log will create a one log information says the incorrect password login. That information you will find in the auth dot log. Okay, and the another log, when you read the log file log name, you can understand the importance of this log. The log name is the path for all the logs, same path, /var/log. Just remember this path. Most of the interviews they will ask what is the default log path for host agent. Host agent default log path is same /var/log. And the importance of Esx update log is it will have a Esx update.log, Esx patch and update installation log. Suppose my Esx server just now I updated with the latest patch. Whether the patch is installed successfully or not, all the information is stored on a esx_update.log. Okay, and /var/log hostd.log. Hostd means Esx host management agent log. This agent log is very important. Most of the troubleshooting scenario will use the row 3, this log only, hostd.log only. Even in the description, if you read this description, it clearly says this log including the virtual machine and host tasks and events, communication with vSphere client, vCenter server, VPXE agent and SDK connections. SDK means software development kit. Any of the software related connections, vCenter connection issue and vSphere client, any kind of tasks and events, all information is stored on a hostd log. Even during the troubleshooting scenario, if your Esx host is hang or if your Esx host is unable to connect, there will be some connection issues. In general, during troubleshooting scenario, first we'll open the log, we'll understand what the log clearly says. The importance of log is the log file shows all the error information very clearly. If you just copy that error information and search in the VMware KB article, knowledge base article, you will find the clearly troubleshooting steps. Okay. During the troubleshooting scenario, I will explain you in detail about all these logs. Now just understand what is importance of each log. And the syslog name itself says it's a syslog information. All the management server utilization syslog information is stored in this log. VM kernel log, this is the core component of Esx operating system. So VM kernel log also very important. It maintains core VM kernel logs including device discovery, storage, networking device, driver events, and virtual machine startup. Any virtual machine having startup failure or while power on, if there is any virtual machine power on issues, those information you will find in the VM kernel log. And the another log, Vmk warning log. Warning means the name itself it says warning. So you will find only the warning informations. And Vmk summary log. Summary log also it says Esx host summary information, whether the host startup, when we power on the Esx box, when we shut down, all information is maintained by summary log. And VPXA log is nothing but a virtual center agent log. We haven't started installation of vCenter. During when we install vCenter server, I will show you this information. And the FDM also one of the advanced log, that is a vSphere high availability log. FDM means fault domain manager. This one also I will explain you during the vCenter server concept. Okay, so in order to verify this all the log information, we'll verify in the multiple ways. Let's connect to my remote system lab system. We can verify from command line, and I will also show you the graphical way of viewing the logs. Okay, now type let me clear all these commands. So what is the path to verify the logs? You can type the command cd. Cd means change directory. You can change the directory to /var/log. When you change the directory to var log, press enter. Our directory is changed to /var/log. Now the command to before verify the list of logs, type ls. Ls means list. Okay, when you type the ls, you will find the so many logs information. Within the logs, we just discussed about the main important common log files. So what is our main common log, one of the log is hostd.log. You will see the hostd log here. Suppose if you want to verify the hostd log information, to view the log information, the command is, you can type the command cat. Cat means category. We can see the all the information hostd.log log, and now press enter. See this cat log, when we type cat space hostd log, it will show you all the log information. We can read the log information. When we do the any changes with the timestamp itself, it will store the information. Okay. So again, if you want to clear, just to clear the screen. Okay, when you type cd, if you type change directory, again it will go back to the previous directory. I'll show you one more time. Change directory space /var/log, press enter, and you can type ls. You will find the all the list. Suppose if you want to see the some more property information of all the logs, ls space -all, list all. When you type list all, you'll find some more details like every log, what is the permissions we have, which ID, and when it was created, time, all information you will find. That command is ls space -all. Okay, this is one method. Suppose if I want to see the same log in the graphical way, we can also use some other third-party tools to view the log file. The third-party tool name is Winscp. Winscp means Windows Secure Copy. Just in the Google type Winscp download, and you can download. This is also another tool to view the log information. Winscp download. I am just downloading the free tool. Okay, download is completed. And installation for this tool is very simple. Straight away run. Just copying to software folder. Okay. So license agreement, accept, use the default settings, install, finish. Okay. Completing the Winscp wizard, click finish. These all the advertisements, just close. Close. Just close this wizard, and in the desktop you will find the shortcut. This is a shortcut for Winscp, Windows Secure Copy. Open Windows Secure Copy. This is also access, either we can access SFTP or SCP, any method you can access. It will connect to the ESXi box. Just enter our ESXi server. ESXi server IP address 192.168.10. And the IP address is 71. So when you enter the Esx host IP address, default port number for SSH is secure shell port number is 22. Okay, these port numbers, just remember, some of the interviews, or if you are attending the VMware exams or anything, they may ask the port numbers also in the examination and interviews. And enter the username, root, and password, and click on login. So when you log in, it's continue connect, just click on yes. Okay, when you see the tool is Winscp. Winscp means Windows Secure Copy. The left side you can see our Windows screen, C drive, users, administrator, but in the right side you can see our ESX system. So in the ESX system, what is operating system folders and all, you will see these folders. These folders are same like our Windows system also. If you go to the system C drive, you will find the default system folders like program files x86, users, and Windows. These softwares and all our internal, I created manually. This is our purpose, and users and Windows are we haven't created. When you install the operating system, you will find the Windows, and C drive Windows, if you open, there is so many operating system folders and files. So same way in our ESX operating system also, when we connect using Winscp, under the slash file system, slash is nothing but your root. Under the root, you will find the Esx host operating system folders, and you can find the files. And we discussed about the one of the partition now. All the logs are stored on a var. So you can just look for a var folder to see the log information. See here you can see var. Okay. When you open a var, you will see there is again some subfolders. where cache, where core and all. Now we are looking for a log files. So you can select the log file and you can find all the Esx host log information. Okay. And today we discuss the main 9 log information. The rest of the logs and all, if you want to learn, you can just explore from this folder, or else the most important 9 log file I covered here. Okay, and also the most importantly, we are using most of the time number 3, a hostd log and VM kernel log. Most of the time during troubleshooting, we'll go with these two. And during the patch scenario, any Esx host patch installation scenarios will go with a Esx update log. And the rest of the logs we will not use frequently, but as a VMware systems engineer, we should learn. And this log, suppose if you want to copy it to outside to verify the log information, for example, hostd log, if you want to see, here in the left side, there is a my document folder. Either you can copy on my document folder or C drive. You can select the C drive from here and choose your convenient folder, suppose software folder. Click OK. Now I change it to the software folder. You can just copy whatever log you want to review. For example, I want to review the logs for Vmk Summary. Just copy Vmk Summary. Yeah, Vmk Summary is copied. And you can copy the another log. What is another important log? VM kernel log you can copy. And another important log is hostd. So go to the hostd. Let me sort out with alphabets. Where is the hostd? Yeah, this here is the hostd. Okay, I copied the 3 logs. So just go to our local folder, open the logs. For example, Vmk summary. So in the Vmk summary, it says that, see, when we booted up the host, it is showing the different time zone. So just it is showing default UTC time. So don't think about these timings. This time zone is slightly different. Okay, and you can find host booted. Yesterday we boot up the host and we halted. Halt means it's a turn off. And again today we booted. 28th today's date. So we boot up the host. That information is found in a Vmk summary. And when we go to the hostd and VM kernel, you can find some more additional data. Let's start with VM kernel. So VM kernel, what is our nodes? It clearly says VM kernel consists of core VM kernel log, including device discovery, storage, networking, and driver events, virtual machine startup. There are so much information in the VM kernel log. The same information we are see from this file. See, there are so much information. But normally this log file, no need to read and everything. During the troubleshooting time only, we can see, even during troubleshooting time, the mainly we are looking here is just go to the edit and find for a error and warnings. If there is any error, just search with error. Those errors only we will work out. You can, if you find there is any error message with the error code, you can copy that error code and Google it. You will find a VMware KB article to troubleshoot. Okay, but present scenario, there is no major issues in our Esx box, so we no need to worry about the current existing errors. Okay, and same way for hostd also. Hostd also it have the all the host management agent information. Even if you create any virtual machine and power on, just scroll down, you will find the exact log information here. Okay, so this is about the Esx host logs. Now, before hope you got some idea on Esx host logs, let's move on to the Esxm management interfaces. So our desktop means either laptop or anything, whatever system you are using, from our server, if you want to access the Esx box, there is a 2 methods. Either you can access from graphical user interface, GUI, or you can access either CLI method. CLI means command line interface. So for graphical user interface, what is the option it is showing? VMware host client. From VMware host client, you can directly connect to the Esx box, and Esx we already have. So on top of the Esx, you can create a virtual machine. This is the one method. And the coming next classes, I will show you the vCenter server installation. When we have a vCenter server, to connect to the vCenter server, when we install a vCenter server have one of the component. The component name is Vsphere client. Using Vsphere client also, we can connect directly one host, or you can connect to the vCenter. That is the purpose of Vsphere client. Vsphere client I will show you during the vCenter installation time. Okay, and these two are the graphical user interfaces. And the command line interface also, we have two options: Esx CLI means command line interface, or you can use VMware Power CLI. Esx CLI means just now we connected using putty. That putty session we call it as a Esx CLI method, command line interface method, or we can say SSH method, secure shell method. Suppose there is another command line method which is called VMware Power CLI. Power CLI means there is a tool available from VMware website. You can just open a website and download the VMware Power CLI tool also to connect the Esx host via command line. Just type in Google VMware Power CLI download. We'll find the Power CLI tool. So Power CLI also one of the tool to manage the Esx box. So we'll initiate the download. The current available version is 12.5. Anything, either you can download direct one or zip, anything you can download. Manual download. Okay, so this procedure I will show you. So this is the one method, and another secure shell method just now we tested using the SSH putty. So putty method we call it as Esx CLI. Okay, hope this method is clear. Now we'll test what is VMware host client. VMware host client means log into our test system and Esx IP address, open any browser, either Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, or internet browser, anything you can use, and type our URL. What is the URL? HTTPS, and type our Esx host IP address 192.168.10.71 and press enter. See, it says your connection private and all. You can just click advanced and click proceed to. So this is called, see in the below you will find the information. Open VMware host client documentation. They are giving the documentation also. VMware direct documentation information. But in the below you will see the name. Actual name is, this is the VMware host client. Host client means this client is allows you to access only this host. It not allow you to access other hosts, because this IP address we given for only one host. Okay, and this is nothing but a vSphere host client. Okay, and the vSphere client I will show you during our vCenter server installation time. So now let's log into the Esx box, root, and enter the password. We'll verify the Esx host navigation. Seems password incorrect. Okay. So this is a VMware customer experience improvement program. Just uncheck and click on OK. Okay. Now, when we log into the Esx server, we can see the Esx host in the left pane. You can find the navigator. This navigator is like Esx host, all the information the left side, and the right side you can see the complete Esx host dashboard. So in this dashboard, I will explain one by one what is the importance of each feature. See, the first one you can see our Esx host name. Our Esx host name is esx01 demolab.com. Our OS is 7.0 update 2. That means U2. And the normal, not connected to any vCenter server. It's clearly given the current state. Our host is not connected to any vCenter server. Okay, and the uptime 0.04 days. That means we just know we powered on. So that's why it is showing this many days power on. And Esx shell is enabled on this host. You should disable the shell unless it is necessary for administrative purpose. So Esx shell is normally we recommend only during the administrative actions. Once your action is completed, we'll disable. See, they only given the actions to disable. You can disable from graphical mode, or you can disable from DCY method. Okay, so here also we can disable. When you click on actions, there is options to disable. See, disable secure shell and disable console shell. Okay, so anyhow, it's our test lab, no need to disable, let's leave it. And another point, it is showing us you are currently using ESXi in evaluation mode. The license will expire in 60 days. Yes, we downloaded the evaluation version, so our license still it will valid for another 60 days. Okay, within the 60 days, if your ESX is really a live system production server, we need to update our license keys within the 60 days. Okay, and just to scroll down, you will find the hardware information. What is our Esx host hardware details? Our manufacturer name VMware, because why it is showing VMware is we created the ESX box on a virtual machine, but in the real time manufacturer means it will show you your hardware vendor. If your box, your ESX is running on HPE box, it will show you the HPE server model. Any of the other vendor, it will show you other vendor model information. Okay, but ours is virtual machine, that's why the model also showing the VMware. Okay. And comes to the CPU, see the processor icon is looks like this. Within the processor, you will find two CPU, Intel Core i7 processor information, and the processor always measured in the hertz, gigahertz. Okay, and this is the process speed, 1.10 gigahertz speed. Okay, when you expand the CPU, you will find some more details. Whatever when we have this information, the same information breakdown you will find here. Logical processor 2, processor type, and the sockets 2, and the core per socket 1, and hyperthreading is not enabled, and memory is 4 GB. Okay, here one of the key option is hyperthreading. Hyperthreading is nothing but a, when we enable the hyperthreading feature, it will increase your processor count to double. Okay, but our machine is a virtual machine, that's why I'm unable to enable this option. If you enable in a physical server, the processor count will increase to a logical processor count will increase to double of the actual processor. Our actual processor is 2 means our logical processor count will increase to 4. Okay, and come to the memory. Memory is showing our current memory is 4 GB, and the virtual flash it is showing what is the capacity used and free. And also the networking we haven't configured anything, and remember that the default it will create a one virtual networking port group. I will explain you in the next class the importance of complete networking. After the networking class there will be another class for storage, but just observe that there is a networking storage options we can found from the hardware section. And the right plan, you can find the configuration. What is our configuration information? Our Esx host image, which image we downloaded from VMware website, we downloaded the Esx, that image information. And Vsphere HA state not configured. And HA means high availability. Again, this feature is not available on one single host. This feature is used only in a vCenter server. And the vMotion also, it's supported. Yes, vMotion now feature is supported on this, but vMotion feature is not configured in a single host. It can be configured only in a vCenter server. And the system information, you will find the date and time for the our ESX box. If you see, its a time is in a UTC time. It's not like our regular Jones. And install date, we installed yesterday, so it is showing the install date as yesterday date. And asset tag, no asset tag. Normally asset tag is nothing but a serial number. Every system has a serial number. Suppose my local system, if you want to get the serial number, Windows system, go to the system and type the serial number. Vmk BIOS serial number. Even your laptop serial number, if you want to see, this is the command. Serial number space. Okay, maybe any difference in the command. Yeah, command is correct. Maybe the Windows 11, this command is not working. Vmk BIOS serial number, no spelling mistake. Yeah, so command is correct. Suppose if I try my local system, Vmk BIOS serial number. Mhm. Oh, sorry, there is a get also. I missed the typo. Vmk bias get serial number. Sorry. Let me clear. CLS Vmk bias get serial number. When you type this command, you will find the serial number. This is a Windows system to verify the serial numbers. Same way, if I want to verify the serial number on my ESXi box, the procedure is log into the ESXi host client, select the host, right side, you can go to the system information, you'll find the asset tag. Asset tag is nothing but a physical hardware information, and below you can see the serial number. Okay, and the BIOS version, what is our current BIOS version? Basic input output system version, and release date. Normally for our virtual machine, it's not showing. Sometimes if it is using a physical real production server, it will show the BIOS version. Whenever it is needed a latest update, you will get the warning message here. It will says that your BIOS version needs to be updated. Okay, and let me scroll down. You will see in the below performance summary 1 hour. So once we power on the virtual machine, you will find all the virtual machine performance information. Consumed host to CPU status you can see. See, the green color refers as a consumed CPU and remaining is consumed memory. The blue color is refers as a memory. If you see the CPU and memory, all CPU memory is less than 40% only. Okay. So this is the first tab information, and if you see the above some more information, get the vCenter server. So VMware also recommending to get the vCenter server. Okay, we'll install the vCenter server. And another one, if you want to create a virtual machine, select this option. Until now, we learned how to create a virtual machine in VMware Workstation. Same procedure in Esx host also. If you want to create a virtual machine, click on this option, either create or register. I will explain what is the difference between create and register. Suppose you already have a existing virtual machine. For existing virtual machine not showing in the ESX level, that scenario will use register option. For creation of new option also will use the same method. Okay, I will explain you both. What is the importance of create, what is importance of register. So just click on create virtual machine and select the create new virtual machine. But the only the wizard style when compared to VMware Workstation, this wizard is bit different, but the procedure is same. So create new virtual machine. And the second option is deploy a virtual machine from OVF. OVF means open virtual format. OVM means open virtual appliances. There are some open virtual appliances available in VMware marketplace site. Using that OVF files also we can deploy the VM. I will show you this option also in the next classes. And register an actual virtual machine. This option I will show you today. Okay, first we'll start with the first option, create a new virtual machine. So just click on new virtual machine. So while entering the new VM, we need to enter the VM name. Suppose I'm creating the first VM. Let's create the VM name as a VM01. And operating system, any operating system you can install. Suppose the guest operating system, selecting the any flavor we can install. Either you can install Linux, Macintosh operating system, or other operating system or Windows. Select the OS family as Windows and the OS version, which version you want to install. See, it's supported from Microsoft MS-DOS operating system is the basic first operating system. After there are so many client versions, server versions. Now we are planning to install a latest version, either 2019 or 2022. So you can select Windows Server 2022. Okay, and another option is enable Windows virtualization based security. If you want to enable, you can enable. When you click the information, it says that makes hardware virtualization. So if you want to configure hardware virtualization, you can go with this option. At present, we know it. Just uncheck this one, click on next. Okay, so while we creating the virtual machine, it's clearly says that select a data store, but currently there is no data store to display. So that means we have to create a data store to store the virtual machine. Just now we discussed virtual machine file system name is VMFS. VMFS purpose is to store the virtual machine. So in order to store our new virtual machine, there is no file system. So we'll cancel this wizard and I will show you how to create a file system. So in order to create a file system, go to the storage See, even in the storage, new data store and we can create. But in order to create a data store, first we verify that whether we have enough storage or not. Let me minimize this wizard and go to the VMware workstation where our Esx host is running. Select our Esx box, select the Esx, go to the settings, and we can see what is our Esx size we given initially 10 GB. But this 10 GB is dedicated only for Esx operating system. If you want to store the virtual machine, we need a additional disk. So there is no additional disk here. The other one CD, network adapter, USB controller, display. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we need to add a new storage. Okay, I'm selecting a new storage, hard disk. Hard disk default is SCSI, small computer system interface, disk type. Click on next and create a new virtual disk. Normally these options are, if you have existing virtual disk, you will go for second option. If you want to use physical disk, you can go for a third option. But we'll go with the first option now. And virtual disk size. So virtual disk size, whatever size you want, you can give. Before give the size, let me check what is the free space in my disk. Okay, 353 GB free space. So okay, we are good to give the sizes. Let me give the size as a 100 GB. Okay, and always remember to create virtual disk as a single file. Click on next. So virtual machine disk file name means vmname.vmdk. Click on finish. So hard disk is added. So click on OK. But when we add the 100 GB, it won't update immediately at the Esx host level. See, even if I click new data store, create new VMFS data store, next, you will find no devices with free space. So it's not showing any disk space. So to apply these changes on Esx level, the only solution is we need to restart the Esx server to apply the new hard disk. So how we can restart the Esx server? We can restart in the multiple ways. So the normally in the real time, if you want to restart, we can restart from command line method also. So to I will show you two options, how we can restart in the graphical method, how we can restart in the command line method. So first method is graphical method. So select the Esx host. In the right side, you will find shutdown and reboot. Okay. So, but our scenario now is we are not going to shut down. We just added a 100 GB disk. To apply the changes, we need to reboot. So just click on reboot. This is the graphical method. Suppose if I want to do it from command line, how we can do? You can just connect to the putty session, SSH session. Okay, and the IP address is 192.168.10.71 and log into our ESXi box. Enter the login credential. Sorry, we need to enter the small characters. Okay, let me enter the root and password. Okay, once we log in order to reboot your Esx host, the command is root, reboot. Reboot is the command to restart. Okay, so and also another important point is before restarting the Esx server in the real-time scenario, make sure that always place the host in a maintenance mode. When you click enter maintenance mode, it says that when in maintenance mode, VMs cannot be created, power on or nor configured. Additionally, vCenter server will not migrate any VMs. Okay, this is the instructions they are giving, and this is the recommendation in the real-time environment. When you are restarting the Esx host, make sure that place the host in maintenance mode and then restart. This is the recommended procedure. So I'm just placing the host in a maintenance mode first. See, when you place the host in maintenance mode, the icon is changed. Now you can reboot from here or the same letter we are using here to reboot. Okay, we'll try from the command line. Type the reboot, enter. Okay, if you see in the recent task, you can see the auto start power off is completed. Even my remote connection command line session also disconnected because we already applied the command reboot. Okay, to monitor the status, how we can monitor? Log into the workstation and select the Esx host screen. You can see host is rebooting. Okay, but here our test lab, we are using the VMware workstation to monitor the Esx reboot. But in the real-time scenario, remember that if your server is HP server, we need to log into the ILO, integrated lights out. From the ILO screen, you can monitor the Esx host reboot status. Normally, Esx host reboot may take a while. It's roughly 5 to 10 minutes time. It will boot up. Okay, so our test system may took very quick reboot, but in the production servers, sometimes it may take 5 to 10 minutes time. Okay, see, it's rebooted very fast. Now again, when you refresh this wizard, it will ask you to enter the ID password again. Enter the root and password. Okay, when we log into the Esxi host, currently it's in a maintenance mode. To release the maintenance mode, again right click the Esxi host, exit maintenance mode. See, in the recent task, you will find currently the host status is powered on successfully. And exit maintenance mode option also, it says that completed successfully. Okay, whatever task we perform, all the tasks are we can see from a recent tasks. Okay, so now we already restarted the host and we added a 100 GB hard disk. We'll first, in order to add the hard disk size, go to the storage. Under storage, click on new data store. So new data store, don't confuse this word. Normally in our Windows system and Linux system, Windows system we call it as C drive, D drive, and in the Linux system we call it as directories. But in the ESX environment, just familiarize this word. The local disks and storage, we call it as a data store. The name itself says data store, to store the data. Okay, so create a new VMFS data store. VMFS means VMware file system name. Okay, VMFS data store. Click on next. See, now you can able to detect our local hard disk. How much size we added? 100 GB disk. See, that 100 GB disk you can find. Okay, so this data store name, whatever the name you want to keep, you can keep. But our test lab, any name you can configure, no issues. But in the production real-time scenario, we should follow the company standard naming conventions. Okay, so for our easy understanding, this is our local data store. So I'm putting the name as local data store -1. Okay, for our testing purpose, I put the name as a 1, or else we can keep 0, 1. Okay, so now click on next. See, it says that before select the partition, this is the size free space 100 GB. Once we click on next, it says that all the partition will be changed to VMFS partition. Okay, and the VMFS partition's latest version is VMFS 6. Okay, ESX version is 7, but VMFS version still is 6. Okay, this is also one of the interview question. What is the latest VMFS version? Remember that VMFS latest version is 6 and the previous version is 5. Okay, we'll use the latest VMFS version. Now click on next. Okay, we'll see what is our summary. We created the name for the data store is local data store 1 and the disk name is local disk, and there is some HBA number. These numbers I will explain clearly during the ESX storage class. Okay, and the partitioning, use full disk we given. Okay, suppose if for testing purpose, if you want to use only some size, we can select the custom and modify the sizes. Okay, but our scenario will go with a full size. Next, now click on finish. See this, it says that the entire content of this disk about to be erased and replaced with the specified configuration. Are you sure? Yes. See, now the file system is changed. See, local data store is the data store name, SSD. SSD means solid state drive, and the capacity 100 GB, 99.75 GB. Why it is showing less than 100 means when we change the file system, based on the file system, the value will change, file system type. Okay, and the provisioned is 1.41 GB. It may took some size for the VMFS, and the present we have the free space is 98.34 GB. Okay, and the thin provisioning supported. This is also important word. Remember, thin provisioning I will cover in the next classes. Okay, so local data store is created. Now it's the time for create a virtual machine. Again, select the Esxi host, click on create and create a new virtual machine. Click on next, and enter your virtual machine name VM01 and the guest operating system Windows OS family, and the operating system we are trying to install a 2022. So select 2022, click on next. See, now you can find our new local data store 100. Why I mentioned local means we are not using a storage from any external storage. We are using a Esx host local storage. That's why for easy understanding, I put the name local. But in the next classes, I will show you. In our storage scenario, there are mainly four concepts. One is local, and second one is NAS, network attached storage, and third one is iSCSI SAN, and the fourth one is FC SAN. So all these additional three types of storage I will show you. When we are adding the NAS, I will put the name as NAS storage, iSCSI SAN, and file system. FC SAN will keep the file system, FC SAN storage. Okay, just to categorize based on the storage type. Okay, and the file system is latest version VMFS 6. Now click on next. So that means our virtual machine storing on this data store. Okay, now you can see all our virtual machine configuration information. Even you can see all the hardware icons also. CPU we assigned as to CPU. Suppose if you want to enable the hot plug before itself, expand the CPU. We selected the CPUs are 2 CPU. Okay, socket default 1. Okay, CPU hot plug. We discussed during the discussion of difference between physical machine and virtual machine. We discussed the topic for hot add. Hot add, we can also say CPU hot plug. Any word you can use. So there is a feature by default CPU hot plug. This option during the VM creation itself we need to enable. When you enable this option, when the in future if you want to increase the CPUs from 2 to 4, you no need to power off the VM. When the VM is power on state, you can increase the CPUs. Okay, so in our even in the production environment, it recommended to enable this option. Okay, and the reservation limit shares, I will explain in the next classes what is importance of this reservation limit and share. Okay, so CPU selection is completed. When expand the memory, even memory default it's selected as a 4 GB. 4096 MB means it's a 4 GB. How we can calculate is normally 1 GB equal to 1024 MB. For 4096 means you can just calculate 4096 divided by 1024. You will find the value is 4 GB. Okay, so 1 GB equal to 1024 MB. MB means megabytes. Okay, memory is selected. Even memory also have a hot plug option. See, memory hot plug, enable the memory hot plug. Okay, memory hot plug is enabled. And hard disk by default it is showing 90 GB. For testing purpose we no need to give 90 GB. Just for testing I'm just giving 20 GB. Okay, and also rest of the components, SCSI controller 0, SATA controller, these all the hard disk types. SATA means SATA hard disk controller, SCSI controller. Let's leave it the default options, no need to modify anything here. And network adapter default one adapter is adding, and virtual CD and DVD drive also adding, and video card just leave the same options, click on next. Okay, and this is the summary widget we are going to ready to complete. We'll see all information one by one. Name is VM01, data store, local data store, and our operating system name. Compatibility, yes, our Esx 7.02 virtual machine. Okay, and vCPUs, virtual CPUs we given two. Memory means virtual memory 4 GB, network adapters 1, and also there is a network adapter type. This type E1000E, so this one also I will explain during the networking concept. And also the storage types. ID is the old version of storage, integrated drive electronics, and the SCSI is also advanced to IDE and also advanced to SATA. Okay, and the hard disk we given the size is 20 GB. Okay, all the settings are okay. Now click on finish. When we click finish in the recent task, you will see create virtual machine. The virtual machine creation is completed. It's very quick to complete the virtual machine. So VM is created. When you select the virtual machine here in the box, you will see how many VMs. We have only one VM now. So to install the operating system, normally what is the procedure? Same like workstation, right click the virtual machine, go to the edit settings. In our edit settings, we need to mount the ISO. So to mount the ISO, select the CD DVD and we can mount the ISO file from here. Okay, so either you can mount from here, or else another method is just select the virtual machine. Okay, when we select the virtual machine, we can open the console also here, power on and open the console. Okay, but before we do any changes, first of all, we do not have a data store ISO file in the ESX level. So for that scenario, what we have to do is again go to the data store, open the local data store, and we can go to the data store browser. Data store browser, it will show you the data store information. Under the data store, just now we created the VM01. Okay, select the VM01. Other day we discussed about the virtual machine files. So when you select VM01, you will find the virtual machine files. Okay, can you anyone tell me what is the file name for .vmx?
Configuration file.
Yeah, .vmx means configuration files. Very good. And another one, vmsd. Vmsd means,
Snapshot
yeah,
data
it's a,
file.
yeah, snapshot data file. Currently the snapshot file is showing 0 MB. That means there is no snapshots. And the VMDK virtual machine disk file, so disk file we already assigned a 20 GB disk. Okay, and there is no other files. Reason is still the virtual machine is in power off state. When we power on only, it will create the remaining files. Okay, so before going to power on, first we need to get the ISO file. So let me upload the ISO file. ISO upload file procedure is, let me show you again. Select the ESX box, go to the storage, select the storage. Right side, you can select our actual data store. When you select your actual data store, local data store one, click on data store browser. When we click on data store browser, in this wizard, you can find the first option is upload. When you click upload, it will show you your local system. So from your local system, you can mount the ISO file. So our local system, we copied the ISO files on a software and ISOs folder. So from this folder, I am just trying to upload the Windows Server 2022. Just click on open and it started uploading. Okay, in the here you can see the percentage. Sometimes upload based on the ISO file size, it may take some time. Once it's uploaded, the same ISO file you can use for a multiple VM creations time. Seems upload is taking a while. We'll just minimize. In the meantime, let's go back to our slide quickly. Okay, so now you have an idea of the first option, ESXi management interfaces. Until now, we are working on a VMware host client only. This host client wizard only we are just verifying. Okay, this host client main purpose is to manage single ESX box. We already connected to ESX. We are trying to create a virtual machine now. Okay, and the Vsphere client will cover in the during the vCenter installation class, and the command line we tested already today's session, ESX CLI, and Power CLI also I will show you during the vCenter class. Okay, yeah, lab. So the same lab we are discussing now, ESXi management interfaces and post implementation steps. Yeah, now we are in the post implementation steps where we stopped yesterday. Okay, so before going to start the post implementation steps, we'll open our Excel template. Okay, and the Esx Host Navigation means the same navigation we are discussing now. What is the tabs available on a Esx level? Okay, that is called the navigation. I will explain each and every tab. Okay, and the Vsphere documentation. Vsphere documentation, this is the link I given here. So I will show you from the official site also. Let's connect to our server, our test machine. Okay, let it upload. It may take some time. In the meantime, I'm just open the browser. Okay, Google Chrome. If you want to see the VMware documentation, just open the VMware website, vmware.com. Under vmware.com, just select apps and cloud. Our present learnings product name is Vsphere. So select Vsphere when you select Vsphere, here you can see the product overview, compare and resources. Go to the resources. Just scroll down under the resources, you will find technical documentation. So select technical documentation. We'll find the documentation for VMware product documentation. Okay, so click on product documentation, the same URL I copied in the slide. Okay, so left side you will find all the documentation information. See, the VMware official site have the documents from vSphere 6.0, 6.5, 6.7 and 7.0. Present we are discussing the latest version 7.0, but as a learning purpose you can also try the whatever we discussed, you can also try with the 6.7 version, because still most of the companies running with 6 series. If you learn 6.7 and 70 will be good. Concept wise all same, no difference. Even if I expand the notes also, here we have concept ESXi vCenter server, same thing we are discussing, and update manager, vSAN, app defense. The same concepts, if I expand 7, there is some advanced concepts included, vSphere with Tanju. This advanced concept I will explain you when we complete with these two concepts, ESXi and vCenter. I will explain with the Tanju also. That is after the vCenter I will explain, and also I will explain the vSAN as well. And the Bitfusion, this one also, I'm also new to this one. I will just go through the documentation and I will let you know the importance of Bitfusion. Okay. This, if you notice here 6.7 and 7, there is no Tanju in the previous version. This is a new feature they introduced in the 7.0. Okay, even Bitfusion also not available in previous feature, or else I'm just guessing there is any changes in the naming convention. Okay, suppose if you expand 6.5, ESX vCenter concept is same, update manager same. This update manager is not available in 7. Reason is in vSphere 7 they replaced the update manager feature to VLCM. VLCM means VMware Lifecycle Manager. Lifecycle Manager is the advanced product of update manager. So now update manager is no longer available in 7. We'll learn about LCM. LCM means VMware Lifecycle Manager. That lifecycle manager purpose is it will maintain the all Esx host updates and upgrades. Using LCM, we can perform the host update, host upgrades. Okay, so after these two main concepts, I will explain you the remaining concepts. Okay, 6.5, 6 also same. ESX vCenter. The concept is same from 6 series all versions. Okay, if I expand the ESX vCenter, you will find the release notes, configuration maximums, whatever we discussed in the ESX installation setup, all the step-by-step documents you will find from here. Okay, in our slides, I'm giving the overview. If you want to deep dive into the technical concepts, you can go through from this site. Okay, because this is only the main official vendor site. They have all the information, you will find it from here. Okay, so for example, yesterday we installed the ESX installation setup. They given the installation setup document here. Okay, if you want to save this document to PDF, you can just click here, you will find the PDF. Okay, ESXi installation setup. Here they will explain in a complete VMware level, see hardware requirements and all. The same thing we discussed in the real-time scenario example. Okay, preparing for ESXi, installing ESXi, setuping ESXi. Okay, configuring network settings, system syslog, troubleshooting. Okay, all in detail concepts you will find it from here, this document. Even if you see the official vSphere installation setup workflow, let me zoom it. Okay, you will find the workflow from official site. So they mentioned that start the vSphere installation setup, install the ESXi on at least one host. We already installed the ESXi. Set up the ESXi box and deploy vCenter server appliance. Once your ESXi is completed, we'll go with your vCenter server. Okay, after the vCenter server, log into vSphere client. See, you can see the name vSphere client. vSphere client to create and organize your vCenter server inventory. End of the vSphere installation setup. Okay, present we are still at the ESXi setup stage. Once we are familiar with ESX, we'll go to the vCenter concept. Clear? So all the documentation you will find here as well. Oh, they given a very nice document here. consolidated system storage. See, if you see the ESXi system differences also, just now we already discussed the VMFS data store, right? In our 6.x system storage layout, there is a multiple partition sizes. Very clearly they given scratch partition 4 GB and large core dump, locker, small core dump, boot bank. There is a multiple sizes divided in a 6.x. When comes to 7, the complete storage layout is changed. System boot is same and the boot bank also same, boot bank 1 also same. These three folders they merged into the ESX OS data. One is for ROM data, one is for RAM data. ROM means read-only memory data, RAM means random access memory data. Okay. What is this heading? They says that consolidated system storage in ESX 7.0. Okay. So once you familiar with the ESX installation setup and all, if you are more interested to dig into the internal more concept, you'll go through the official documentation. Okay. Official documentation is a more than enough for all the concepts. Even if we want to, I'm also preparing the slide, the whatever the designs I'm preparing, I'm following based on the VMware documentation only. Okay. We'll see the status now. See, upload still 5% or 6%. We'll close this widget. Backend it will still uploading is going on. See, it's a still running state. In the meantime, we'll discuss the other navigation tabs. Are you okay to continue or we'll continue tomorrow? So can I continue?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so we just selected the host and create virtual machine. VM created, but OS not yet installed. Once this upload is finished, we'll install the OS. Okay, in the meantime, shutdown option we test. Shutdown option is for a to shut down the ESX box, and reboot option is for to reboot the ESXi box from the Vsphere host client and refresh. Suppose if you do some modification, it's not updated here, you can use a refresh widget. When you refresh, the widget will be updated. If you see the other option is actions. Under the actions, here also you will find this, whatever the options available here, same option you will find here. Create a virtual machine or register virtual machine, shutdown, reboot, and you can find the additional options under the actions. What is the additional services? Disable secure shell, disable console shell. These two options you can disable from here, or another method is just now we discussed about direct console user interface. From the DCUI also you can do these two options. Okay, and maintenance mode, remember that whenever we plan to do ESXi host restart, first step is place the host into a maintenance mode, and then only we'll go with a reboot or shutdown. Okay, based on your actions. And the lockdown mode, see here you can see the lockdown mode. When we select the lockdown mode, enter strict lockdown or enter normal lockdown. Suppose when we select enter strict lockdown, what is the steps we'll see. When V6 enter strict lockdown, what it is saying that entering lockdown mode could result in session becoming unresponsive. Okay, unless there is an exception for the current user. If there is no exception, it will not be possible to reconnect to the client application. So this is like a strict lockdown. That means if you don't want to give this host to any user access, just enable this option. But present, we no need to enable this option, just cancel. Suppose the another option, lockdown mode, enter normal lockdown. When we select enter normal lockdown, read the instruction here. Entering lockdown mode could result in session becoming unresponsive unless there is an exception for the current user. If there is no exception, it will not be possible to reconnect to the client application. Even if you enable this option, we can access the host only through the our direct host client. It won't allow you to access from any other vCenters. Okay, that is a main feature for lockdown mode. Okay, present we no need to do any lockdown mode, just leave it as it is. And permissions. When we select the permissions, we can find the default users in the ESXi level is DCUI. DCUI means Direct Console User Interface. We already tested this option, and the role for the DCUI is administrator. Yes, it's a administrator role. And root also we tested already. Root is the default ESX administrator. And VPX user. VPX also one of the default user. It will take care about the ESX host processes. And normally we are not use this account to log in. Always we used to log in the account is root. If you want to create a new user, just click on add user and you can create the user. Suppose I am creating the username is user01. I'm creating a first user. You can permissions, whatever permission you want to give, you can give, and you can uncheck also those permissions here. Okay. If you want to give the permission, you can give, or else just leave it as it is. No trusted infrastructure. There is a different types of roles. Default role is no trusted infrastructure administrator, no cryptography administrator, no access read-only administrator. Suppose if you want to test with a read-only permission, I'm just selecting a read-only role and my username is user1. Okay, just click on add user. User group named is user1 doesn't exist. So it says that there is no user1 group. Add a group also. So add user, the user or group named user1 doesn't exist. So that means we have to choose the sum of the group also. We'll choose the group. Okay, or else we'll create a group first and then we'll come here. Let me see the options. This is the permission option. And the other one is generate support bundle. This generate support bundle normally will use whenever ESX host having any errors or any of the host not responding state, we'll export the bundle here. So just click on generate support bundle. It will ask you to username and password, root, and enter the password. See in the screen, you can see it's already downloading the logs. Okay, these logs normally we'll send it to the VMware technical support team to analyze the logs. Okay. So that is the way we can export the logs. Permissions, I will show you. Let me verify other tabs. Is there any option to add the group? And the another last option is get SSH for Chrome. Even from the Chrome also, you can access the SSH wizard, or we can use a putty also to connect to the, yeah, this is also secure shell, one of the application. Either you can use this application or you can use a putty to connect to ESX box. Any method you can follow. So hope we covered all these navigations here. On the right side, you can see the CPU. What is my current CPU usage? Our CPU usage currently in use, how much the percentage we can use? 33% is in use, the remaining is free. And memory also 33% is used, the remaining memory is free. And the storage also you can find 99.75. We added already 100 GB size. So the remaining free space is 78.34. Okay, so hope this dashboard you got an idea what is information is showing here. Okay, now we'll move on to the other tabs. Under the ESX host, you can see the option is manage. When we select the manage, we'll see some more additional features. Under the system, you can find advanced settings. So under advanced settings, there are so many advanced settings for the Esx host. This all advanced settings will use when we do any of the configuration changes. For example, if I want to configure a syslog, you can just type syslog in the search, enter. You will find the syslog information here. Okay, what is a syslogs are here? Here only we can find the log information for all the sysloggers information. Okay, and if you want to change the log to any of the specific directory, we can modify here. Scratch log we can modify. Okay, and come to the another tab, auto start. What is auto start is this auto start option by default enable state is no. It's a default enable state no only. Normally, when we can recommend this option is if your server is only one server configured in your branch office. My branch office only running with one server, one ESX box, and that one ESX box have a 10 virtual machines. If you enable this option, the benefit of this option is when your ESX host is powered off, all your 10 virtual machines also powered off. When your ESX host is powered on, we no need to power on the virtual machines again one by one if your auto start option is enabled. Is it clear? When we click on enable settings, if I click yes, click on save, see enable auto start is yes. Auto start yes means automatically even when your ESX host power off and power on, your virtual machines also start with the ESX host. That is the purpose of this feature. Even in the below you can see virtual machine. It will also power on automatically with the ESX host. Okay, but this feature recommend to enable only in the branch office host, but not for a production host. So let's leave it default. And the swap file. Swap file is nothing but a virtual memory. By default, swap file should be enabled. Whenever ESX host is running with a less memory size, currently our ESX have a 33% usage. It's not, there is no memory issue. If you during your ESX host memory is more than 80 or more than 90% memory, that scenario, it will start consuming the memory from your data store. So by default, ESX host swap should be enabled. Okay, let's leave it default. Okay, and come to the date and time. So date and time, it will shows our current date and time, but only the time is UTC time. UTC time means it's a difference between the 8 hours. So suppose our time is 14 now, 14 plus 8. 14 plus 8 means what is the value? 22. 22 means it's a 10 p.m. So 10 p.m. in the Singapore. And then NTP status. NTP status means network time protocol status stopped. We need to start. Okay, so this NTP information I will show you again. And hardware tab, you will find all the hardware information, PCI devices. PCI means peripheral component interconnect. Peripheral component means all the hardware peripheral components. All interconnected devices you will find here. Okay, and if you want to reboot the host, here also there is option to reboot and refresh. And power management, there is option for power management. Always power management should be balanced, or else some hardware companies they recommend to use the power management option should be high performance. Don't use any power management feature. If you don't want to use any power management feature, always keep it as a high performance. This is a recommendation by hardware vendors like HP, Dell, Fujitsu, IBM hardwares. Okay, why we keep the high performance is we are not going to use any power management features. If you have any power management features only, we'll use this one. Power management features means in your office organization, you are using any of the third party UPS boxes, uninterrupted power supply boxes. That scenario will use this one. If you do not have any specific UPS power management configured, uh, instead of using balance and local power, you can go with a high performance. Okay, click on cancel. That is a hardware tab. Let's go to the licensing tab. We'll find the licensing information. Currently license is evaluation mode. Evaluation mode, if you want to access assign a license key in future, just click on assign license. You can enter the license key here. Okay, cancel. Present, we don't have license key. Just leave it blank. And here also after update the license key, we can refresh. When you go to the actions, we can see the assign license. The same wizard is available here. Okay. Seems someone logged in. Is anyone logged in or? Okay, Raju login. Okay, okay. Now this is the log licensing information. Let's go to the packages. The packages you will find whatever the patches installed on ESX server, all the packages information you will find from the packages tab. All the ESX patch installed patch information. Okay, but we haven't installed any patch. We installed the fresh ISO. That ISO also consists of all these packages. Okay, the same packages, if you want to verify from the command line, open the SSH, Let me maximize. The command to verify all the packages is Esxcli. Sorry, keyboard is okay. Let me type. Oh, okay. It's in the inactive state. Let me reconnect the putty. Right click, restart the session. Root and enter the password. Okay. Now to verify all these packages information, the command is Esxcli software space VIB space list. Here Esx means Esxcli only software, all the softwares. VIB means Vsphere installed bundle and list. Press enter. When you press enter, whatever packages you are seeing from Graphical, all list you will find from the command line also. Okay. Seems someone log in again. Session disconnected. Let's enter. Okay. So this is the packages information. And now back to the services, you will find the ESX, all the services details. Today we discussed the main one of the service for ESX host is host D service. That host D service you will find here, or else you can just search in the right side corner host D. You will find host D. If it is not showing here, we can see from the command line. Here you can see the services VPX, vCenter Server Agent Service. Okay, it is running state. And the security and users, you can find the security and users information here. Authentication, certificate details, users information. The present user is only one root user. Yeah, we'll try to add the user from this widget. Add user. Let's say user 01 and description just for testing, and enter the password. And click on add. Okay, so instead of adding from permission tab, you can see the widget here, user 1 added successfully. Okay, even in the recent task also you can see create user is successfully. So better remember, I repeat again, select the host, go to the manage, right side security and users, select the users, add user. This is the way we can create the users. Okay, and the role, now we can assign the any of the role for that user. Okay, suppose if I want to add the role here, select user, click on edit. So there is no role feature. Maybe to assign the permission, we'll go to the host, actions, permissions. We'll see the new user is available or not. New user is still not available here. Okay, or else refresh and see. Refresh. Now we can check again. Okay, so permission wizard is completely different. Adding user only from the manage tab. Okay, here only we can add. And roles, these are all the default roles. Suppose if you want to create any custom role also, we can create a custom roles. While creating the custom role, permissions and all based on your convenience, you can select the permissions. Okay, and the lockdown mode, default disable, just leave it disable. Okay, and this is about the manage widget. When comes to the monitor widget, the name itself monitor. Here you can find the performance monitor. Performance not this is the current CPU status within the graph information. So not only for CPU, you can also see for memory graph, and similarly you can see the graph for network. You can also see the graph for disk. All the graphs you can find under the performance. Okay, suppose when we select CPU, you will find the CPU information. See, it is showing as physical CPU 0, physical CPU 1. That means we have two process status also it is showing. Okay, and the hardware tab, you will find the hardware information. Currently it's a virtual machine, there is no hardware information is available, no sensor data. And the storage, currently no data available. Okay, and coming to the events, you will find whatever task you perform, all the events will be stored under the events tab. And whatever the task you have performed, all tasks will show in a task tab. Okay, and coming to the logs, we discussed the logs from the command line. Same information you will find from the graphical also. Where is the default log path? All the logs default stored in a /var dot /log /var /log path. Under this /var/log, you will find all Esx host log, and every description you will find here. When you select vpx log, you will find vcenter server log. And what is another log? Host d log. This is also very important. Host d agent log. When you select the log, also you will find the information graphical mode. You can see from here also. Okay. Either you can see from graphical mode, or you can go to the SSH session and you can review the same log information, okay, based on your convenience. And the bundle, you can generate log bundle from this wizard, or another way is select the host, actions, generate support bundle. Any method you can export. VMware is giving a multiple options. Okay, now come to the next tab, notification. This notification tab, when Esx host is enable anything, it will give you a pop-ups. So this same notifications you are finding from the home page. When you select the home page, see there is a notifications. Why this notification coming is under monitor section, this notification status is default enabled. Suppose if I clear this notification, disable this one, you cannot see the notification from the home page. Okay, let's leave it. So that is about the monitor tab. Now come to the virtual machine tab. Under virtual machine tab, we can create the virtual machines. Create virtual machine, you can take the console of virtual machine, power on, power off. Now, when you see the ISO file, we'll see is the ISO file is uploaded or not. It seems ISO file is uploaded successfully. We'll observe from data store browser, refresh. Is ISO file upload or error? Go to the host, monitor, tasks, we'll see here. Refresh. Events. Let me refresh again. Go to the data store, browse data store. Seems ISO file is not yet uploaded. Okay, that is the case. Then there is another method to upload ISO file is open Winscp, connect to the host 192.168.10.71 and enter the login credentials. Okay, now we can enter the ISO file from our system to Esx host directly using Winscp also. Go to the C drive. Our path for the logs is ISO files is C drive ISO folder. Okay, in our ISO folder, the ISO is Windows 2022. Okay, here in the right side, we can select VMFS folder. Under VMFS, select volumes. Under volumes, we can choose our data store name. Data store name is local data store. So double click on local data store. We have only one VM. ISO is not yet uploaded. See ISO, no ISO here. Let's go back to data store and just drag and drop it here. This is also another way to upload the ISO file. Okay, ISO file upload is in progress. Okay, in the meantime, go back to Esx screen. See, we observed until now all these tabs. When we select the host, the right side pane we observed, and when we select manage, we observed all the tabs. And similarly, we observed the monitor navigation. Each and every tab we observed what is the importance of each tab. And the virtual machine tab, we created the virtual machine. And the storage, we added a new data store. Okay, and the networking in detail we'll discuss on a ESX networking concept, and storage in detail also I will explain in the ESX storage concept. Okay, and now we'll quickly verify the ESX post installation steps now. For ESX post installation steps, see, we already discussed the enable SSH. How we can enable SSH? Either you can enable from a direct console user interface or you can enable from a graphical mode. Graphical mode means just now we discussed you can enable SSH from host, actions, go to the services, you can enable from here. Okay, we already currently in the enable state. That's why it is showing disable. When you disable, it will become a disable state. Okay, you can enable from here or you can enable from a direct user console. From the direct console also you can enable. Okay, this option is clear. So let's make it done. And the time synchronization, enable time synchronization. How we can enable time synchronization is log into the Esx host using host client. Here to enable the NTP, we find the NTP option here. When we select the system time and date NTP, by default NTP client time is stopped state. If you want to start, edit the NTP settings and you can just use the manual, click on say enable NTP client, start with the host, click on save. When you click on this one, the NTP client will start. Just refresh. It's currently stopped. So again click here, we need to start. If it is starting, if it still it is not started the service, it says that the service name is NTP service status. So go to the service tab and here you can search for the NTP. Okay, there is a NTP service also call it as daemon. So select the NTP here and just start. Okay, NTP service failed to start. Why it is failed to start? Why it is failing means there is no NTP server in our infrastructure. That's why it is failing. So during the vCenter time, I will configure NTP as well. So that time we will start the service. Okay, but the option is this is the option to start the NTP service. Okay, hope you have an idea of starting the NTP service, and even the port number for NTP port number you will find in the vCenter server clearly what is the port number, or else under hardware section, system section, time and date, when we click edit, it's not showing the port numbers here. Okay, vCenter level I will show you the port number. So hope you have an idea how to enable the NTP. Okay, and enable SNMP. And SNMP we are enabling mainly to monitor the Esx server. SNMP option also we'll find from the host client. Go to the services, we'll just remove the search, we'll see there is a service for SNMP. Yeah, this is the service. So just if you want to start the SNMP service, select the SNMP, click on start. Refresh. SNMP service start also failed. Reason is there is no SNMP server configured in our infrastructure. So during vCenter server time, I will show you to set up one SNMP, one NTP to start these two services. Okay, and let me minimize. So option is we know the option how to enable the SNMP service under the services section. Okay, now apply the host patches. This is an optional one. If you want to apply the patches, we can apply in the multiple ways. We can use VMware Lifecycle Manager or we can use command line method to apply the patches. This one also I will show you during the vCenter class. And networking, basic networking we observed today, but in detail concept for networking, we have separate 1 hour session for networking, 1 hour session for storage. But the networking and storage options we can find from here. See, virtual machines, we have one tab. Same way, storage, we have one tab. Networking, one tab. Okay. So these two options. And assign license, we observed already licensing option. Licensing option, go to the host client, manage. Under manage licensing tab, we can apply the license. Okay. This is also one of the post implementation step. And lockdown mode also we observed. And Syslog server we observed from the advanced settings. Advanced settings means select manage, go to the system, under system select the advanced settings. You will find the advanced settings here. When you search with syslog, you will find the syslog information. Under the syslog, the scratch log, here only we can enter the server path, actual remote server log path we can enter here. Okay, this is to store the logs in a remote server directory. Okay, minimize, and now syslog also fine, and validate the Esx host connectivity status and health status. So connectivity status we already tested, host able to connect from graphical user, and also we can able to connect from command line. Two methods we are able to access, connection wise no issue. And health check, how we can verify the health check is when we select the host, in the first tab itself we can see the health status. Normally every health status, all tabs are showing as green, and also the performance tab also we can see the status. Every status should be error, no errors. Green means almost the server health status is normal. Even the hardware level, if there is any hardware issues, we can find from here. Okay, for health status usually we'll do from the monitor state. From the monitor tab we can observe the performance and hardware status. This is the way we can validate the Esx host health status. Most of the time if there is any hardware issues or anything, from the dashboard also you'll find the error messages here. Okay, so this step also clear. Now come to create a test VM and test the VM image backup. So this test VM only we are creating. We'll see the ISO file uploaded or not. We'll see Winscp. So ISO file still uploading, it's a 44%. Okay, once it's uploaded we can mount the ISO and we can install the operating system. We created the VM OS installation, not yet verified. We'll verify once ISO is uploaded. Okay, I'll just put here as a in progress. And now open the necessary firewall ports. Present we do not have any remote firewall hosts here, so it's just observation. This is a optional step. Okay, and verify the host disk space. To verify the host disk space, we can verify from directly here. Select the host, right side host free space you can find from here. If you want to see the partition space also, go to the Esx host command line and you can type the command df space -h. When you type df space -h, you can find the Esx host, all the boot partitions configuration information. See, you can see the partition VMFS6 100 GB. The use space is only 24%. So still we have enough free space. Okay, and if you see the OS boot bank 1 OS data, these and all Esx kernel partitions information. Okay, and the data store, this is our local data store. Local data store, we have enough free space now. Okay, sometimes if there is any space issues, we need to increase our disk data store size. If you want to increase the data store size, go to the host client, select the storage. There is an option to increase the data store. When you select the local data store, increase capacity. But in order to increase the capacity, first we have enough free space to increase. Okay, so this is the step. And the final step is set VM auto restart with host. This is also optional. Normally this option will enable only for a branch officers if you when you have a single Esx box, or else default option is leave it disable state. Okay, where we have the VM's auto start option, just go to the host client. Under host client, select manage auto start. Okay, when you select auto start, default state is no. It's recommended to enable only for the when you have only single box, not for the production multiple Esx host scenario. Okay, so that's why I mentioned this point. This step is only for optional. Okay, so we covered almost all the Esx pre-installation steps, installation procedure, and post-installation. And the test VM only ISO upload is taking longer time. Let me see the status. I think it is still 62%. Okay, so maybe it may take a while. Virtual machine installation I will show you tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll start with the ESXi networking. Okay, so we'll back to our today's discussion items. So please let me know what is items we covered today.
Components, Esx component.
Esx components. Okay, and then any other we discussed?
Esx management consoles.
Yeah, Esx management interfaces. We verified the management interfaces. We have multiple interfaces. Graphical user interfaces, Vsphere host client, and command line interfaces, SSH, putty session.
Esxi log files.
Esx log files. Very good. Any other we discussed? So this is the concepts we covered today. And how about the lab we discussed? Yesterday we discussed the pre and post installation. Today we covered the post installation. So complete build procedure. Now we have an idea. Okay. So apart from that, we verified the Esx host management interfaces lab. So both GUI and CLI both covered. CLI means command line interface. We covered via putty, and we also use some third-party tool to connect the Esx, which is Winscp. And the GUI tool means it's a Esx host client. Vsphere host client. Okay. Apart from that, any other we discussed? We verified the Esx host navigation. Navigation we validated in the multiple ways. We verified from DCUI, host client, and putty also we verified, and via WinSCP also we verified. And finally, we created the one virtual machine in Esx host level. Create VM at Esx level. So VM creation is completed and the guest OS installation is in progress. We haven't started the guest OS, so we just uploading the ISO file. For uploading, what we did, we created a VMFS data store, created a local data store. So what is the data store file system name? VMFS. Okay, and uploaded the Windows Server 2022. Okay, these are all the labs we covered now. So the last one is still in progress. So we will continue tomorrow. Oh, it's a 95%. Just a few more minutes. It's quick. We can quickly start the installation process. So you can upload in the two ways, either upload from the host client data store upload. If it is taking longer time, the other method is we can use WinSCP to upload the ISO files. WinSCP means Windows Secure Copy. You can copy any files from Windows to Linux, ESX and ESX to Windows. Vice versa, we can copy. Yeah, luckily we finished. 2020 ISO is uploaded. Just minimize this wizard, go to the data store and we'll verify. Refresh once. Okay, now select the data store, go to the data store browser. See, the ISO file is uploaded successfully. So to install the OS on the virtual machine, what is the procedure? Right click the VM, go to the edit settings, mount the ISO file. So in order to mount the ISO file, drop down menu, select the data store ISO file. Select ISO, click on select. So when you select the ISO file, make sure that it should be connect state. Select connect, click on save. So the saving is completed successfully. Now just to power on the virtual machine, it will start booting from the ISO file. So to open the virtual machine console, there is an option for console. Okay, there are multiple methods we can open. Open browser console, open console in a new window, open console in a new tab, and launch remote console. Download, there is a separate tool also to download, virtual machine remote console tool. Any method you can use. Here for easy method, I am using open console in the new tab. Okay, we'll open in the next tab. It may take a while to mount from my boot from ISO. So once it mounted, the OS installation and all, you already know how to install the OS. Okay, so we can say that installation process also completed. Okay, so until now we finished the ESX status, navigation, and also the VM creation and OS installation. Clear? Is there any questions on today's discussion points? If no questions, we can wind up. Okay, thanks for your time. Please keep practicing the lab. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you. Bye bye. See you next time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.